This video will discuss the use of runs tests for identifying causes in processes that can help us to improve the process. The first data set we'll look at is a set of 40 samples, 10 bags in each sample, of the weight of premixed concrete. A mean control chart was constructed in Excel to examine whether or not the process is centered consistently over time. We can see the result is that in this set of 40 samples, the process is centered consistently, at least in the sense that there are no points outside the control limits. Once we've observed this, we may want to do a runs test to further identify any conditions that might lead us to improve the process. The first thing that might be useful to conduct runs tests with the Excel control charts is to remove the markers from the control limits and the center line. This is optional, but sometimes helps us to identify certain points. If we highlight the center line and right-click and select Format Data Series, the series options will show up to the right. The option at the left has the marker format. Expand marker options, and then we'll click None. We can repeat this for the lower and upper control limits. This is optional, but the purpose is to be able to see where the points on the blue line or the sample means are in relation to the center line or control limits. In this case, the two runs tests that we'll look at are a runs test for a trend of 5 points going in either direction. The second is a run of 5 points above or below the center line. So in the case of looking for trends, we would simply start with the first point and look to see if there are 5 points that go either up or down without changing directions. For instance, the first 3 points are a run upward. The fourth point starts a new run downward, but that run only extends for 2 points. The sixth point starts a run upward, but again, that run only extends for 2 points. So we can quickly start to identify runs. If we look toward the middle of the chart, we do have a run, in this case, that is 4 points where we don't change direction. It just so happens that 2 of these points are actually the same, and we may have to look back at the data set to tell this for sure. So since we didn't change direction, we would consider this a run of 4 points. But it doesn't meet our criteria for being 5 or more. Each time we change direction, that's where the new run starts. And so the next point after this change in direction starts the new run. This is a run of 1, 2, 3, 4 points downward. It doesn't meet our criteria of 5 or more. And that's the last time we see a run of even 4 points that go in one direction. This point here goes up just slightly, but still it won't allow any of these points to meet our criteria. So we don't see any runs up or down. The next thing we would look is runs of 5 or more points that are above or below the center line of the chart. We start with the first point. It's just one single point below the chart. The next 2 points are a run above the center line of the chart, the center line being the yellow line, but that doesn't meet our criteria of 5 or more. Here we have a run of 3 below the center line. again less than our criteria. If we move down the chart, we do see a run here of 4 above the center line. That doesn't meet our criteria. The first time that we see a run of 5 or more, either above or below the center line, is right here, starting with point 32. 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36 are below the center line. These are consecutive 5 or more consecutive points. Point 36 is very close to the center line, and sometimes we may have to go look back at the source data to see if the criteria is met. This is also where removing the markers from the yellow line helps to identify this. We're just going to circle and highlight those points, just to note that on this control chart, there's a run of 5 or more below the center line. So what we saw there was 5 hours in a row where the process produced bags with a sample mean that was less than the overall average. We may want to go investigate what happened during this time to see if there's information that we can use to improve the process so that it becomes more consistent over that time period. We wouldn't want a number of customers to receive bags that are below the desired weight, because this might cause some errors in mixing the concrete and using them for a construction job.